Welcome to the Louisiana Business and Industry Show. And now your host, Tim Johnson.
Dripping with culture, joy of life, and work ethic, the Acadiana region has been home to one of the state's fastest growing and most diverse economies. The downturn in the oil and gas industry has had a serious negative impact, and thousands of jobs have been lost. Gregg, President and CEO of the Lafayette Economic Development Authority, joins us when we return on this edition of the Louisiana Business and Industry Show.
Since 1919, we've designed and constructed hundreds of industrial plants, roads, ships, dams, and executed some of the most complex jobs in the world. In fact, our quality and dependability are legendary. Today, the legend continues as Brown & Root delivers engineering, construction, maintenance, and industrial specialty services throughout the U.S. and the world from our headquarters here in Louisiana. We are Brown & Root.
In Baton Rouge, see your Good Neighbor State Farm agent Brady Flavin for your insurance and financial needs.
For over a quarter century, Kelly's has operated with honesty, integrity, and above all, safety. Kelly's features a fleet of quality equipment operated by dedicated, safety-minded employees skilled in land clearing, above-ground right-of-way maintenance, vegetation control, station yard and manned facility maintenance, above-ground pipeline support, and more. Kelly's Industrial Services, where pipeline right-of-way maintenance gets done right.
Consumers and property owners with construction projects can have a successful result or regretful experiences that could have been avoided. Before any construction project, verify licensure of the contractor and check references. Scammers will claim to be insured or bonded, so always check first. Download our app, LA Contractor, from the Android or Apple Store. Visit our website, lacontractor.org, or contact the Louisiana State Licensing Board for Contractors. We're here to help before things go wrong. Hire a licensed contractor. It's the law.
Welcome back to the Louisiana Business and Industry Show. I am very pleased to welcome a gentleman who has been a friend of mine from back in 1995-96 when we both served on the Louisiana Economic Development Authority under Governor Mike Foster. Gregg Gothreaux is President and CEO of the Lafayette Economic Development Authority. My friend, welcome back to the show.
Great to be here, Tim.
Glad you are. Fun days when you and I were working with Governor Mike Foster and Stephen Perry and all those days, and you've spent a wonderful career and a long time in the economic development business. Tell us a little bit about the mission and the structure of the Lafayette Economic Development Authority.
LEDA, as we call it, is a pretty unique quasi-governmental entity. We're led by 12 volunteer politically appointed commissioners, and I'm the president. We've got a staff of 17, plus a lot of interns, because we really believe in supporting our university. And that structure lends itself to a unique full-service economic development experience: business retention, expansion, business recruitment, workforce development, and business seeding, incubation, acceleration, etc. When I say full service, I mean full service.
You do it all, and you've got an exceptional staff of very talented people. You know, one of the things we talk about on this show, Gregg, and we talked about when you were on the show a year or so ago, was how special Louisiana is and what a special place it is to live and to work and to do business. You drill down on that. The Acadiana region, Lafayette, the Cajun culture really is a special and unique place within a special and unique place. What makes Lafayette and that Acadiana region such a wonderful place to live and work and raise a family and grow a business?
Well, you may have seen just last week when NBC did a report on the happiest city in the United States.
Yeah.
And it's Lafayette, Louisiana. And honestly, in good times or bad, the people they stick together. Mm-hmm. They have a joy for life, we say joie de vivre, that is really infectious. And people come, they assimilate into our culture, and they become one of us, so to speak. And while we work hard, the fun and the good times are always close by. And I think that's what makes our region so special. People, for whatever reason, have decided that they're going to make it through their lives with a smile instead of the sort of natural frown that seems to permeate so much of society these days.
It really is a wonderful balance between joie de vivre, that joy of life that you talk about, and a fabulous documented work ethic. And when you put those two together, it really does make for a wonderful mix, right?
It's a great story that the president of Bell Helicopter told us when we were announcing our new helicopter plant. He said, we took some of our folks from South Louisiana and brought them up to Dallas to work during a time of particularly tough times. And he said, not only were they working, they were running all over at hardware stores, innovating and creating ways to fix things that we had never really considered. And then in the evening, in the parking lot of the hotels, they were having cookouts.
Right.
So yeah, I think it's pretty well known.
Maybe an adult beverage or two might have been consumed at that. You know, your region and the work that you guys have done over the last 20 years or so has been recognized. You look at Lafayette being recognized as one of the great entrepreneurial cities, smaller cities in the country. Foreign direct investment recognition. That you talk about some of the awards that the region and LBIS specifically have earned over the last few years.
Well, the Milken Institute puts out a rating each year, and we have been in the top 25 of that rating almost every year for many, many years now. And it's, I love that rating because it's sort of a composite of many different factors. But it says basically that we're a community that's ready to work, that's ready to do business, and complementary to business. And then you add to that some of the things like foreign direct investment, quality of life things like happiest city, best food, tastiest food in the South according to Southern Living, best food in a mid-sized community according to Rand McNally in the United States. And you realize all of a sudden that you've got this community that's got a real balance. Southern Business and Development Magazine has put us in almost all of their technology, recession busting, unique collaborative economic development rankings over the last 10 years as well. And so there's no doubt it's a special place with a special recognition.
Well, and folks are recognizing that from externally as well. You mentioned Bell Helicopter, you mentioned some of the IT success that you guys have had. Talk about some of the big announcements that have taken place there. Obviously, we're going to talk later in the show about the downturn in the oil industry and the impact that that's had. But let's talk about the successes. Great diversification of that economy as well.
Well, we can start with the existing companies that have helped us diversify, like GDS and ACS and companies like that. And they have grown considerably. These are computer companies before we had computer companies, technology companies. And then we are, growing in other areas. We've just announced, in addition to Bell Helicopter, 3 technology companies, including the 5th largest in the world solution provider, that are going to create about 1,000 direct jobs, another 1,000 indirect jobs, complemented by some other technology companies that are also growing in our business accelerator. So the combination is really good.
And it is done in conjunction with a great relationship that the economic developers have with the institutions that are there, the Lafayette Parish School System, the regional school systems, University of Louisiana Lafayette that's done a great job, South Louisiana Community College. We've got about 30 seconds left. Talk just briefly about that relationship or the relationship with your educational institutions and the role that they play.
Well, just to put it in a nutshell, companies are so impressed when they come and see the president of the parish, the president of the university, the chancellor of the community college, all sitting at a table ready as a team to work with them, to bring them in the area, to help them create the workforce that they're looking for. It's really a remarkable alliance that we've put together, and it's really teamwork.
Well, and it's created or helped to create a lot of the great success that we've had in the diversification of the economy that has become even more critically important as we've seen the downturn in the oil industry. And I want to take a break and come back and talk about the impact that that's had on the region and its economy. We're visiting with Gregg Gothreaux. He is the president and CEO of the Lafayette Economic Development Authority, LBIS. and you're watching the Louisiana Business and Industry Show.
Spadel's Florist was founded over 30 years ago. From my mom's kitchen, we have grown into one of the largest florists in this area. There's a sense in our community that you stick together. Good times or bad. And oil and gas is part of that family. They're my neighbors. They're my customers. They're the person I'm sitting next to at church. If oil and gas is doing well, all of our businesses are doing well. We are Louisiana Oil and Gas.
For more than 25 years, the TJC Group has been helping industry communicate and build relationships with communities, elected officials, and governmental agencies. We are the leading firm in the U.S. for the development, management, and facilitation of industry-based community advisory panels.
Whether you're building a new facility or you manage an existing business, let us put our community and governmental relations experience to work for you.
The TJC Group, facilitating solutions for business and industry.
It might be one of the most efficient, most effective methods of communications we've ever used.
What if I said that the American dream is alive and well, and that it exists for anyone willing to build it? That the power of a nation does not reside in its monuments, but in the hearts and minds of those who built them, and that the country's greatest heroes also wear hard hats. In today's America, it's not enough to dream about the future. You have to build it. Build your future at byf.org.
Welcome back to the Louisiana Business and Industry Show. Great conversation with Gregg Gothreaux, who is the President and CEO of the Lafayette Economic Development Authority, LEDA. We talked about the joy of life. We talked about the region and its people. We talked about some of the successes that you've had in the first segment. But we also know that there's been a downturn in the oil and gas industry. So give us a general overview of the region's economy. Where is it today?
It's down right now, not as much as a lot of people had predicted, but it certainly is down. Retail sales have dropped, other indicators have dropped, home sales, things like that finally starting to drop a little bit. The oil industry appears to be on the verge of losing about another 2,500 direct jobs this year based on rig counts that we know. That'll unfortunately cause another 2,500 people to lose their positions, and then there's a trickle-down effect that will go even farther. But we have actually fared this better than, as I said, most had predicted, and I think we can come through it with great resolve.
And as we mentioned in the first segment, part of your ability to come through it is based on the great success you've had in diversifying your economy and the economic development work you've done. So let's talk about specifically the oil and gas industry. When you were on the television show a year or so ago, we talked about how much great technology has been exported from the Acadiana region in terms of the oil and gas sector. We talked about the great workforce that actually gets exported all over the world in terms of the expertise and the knowledge and experience. So you could say that in some ways, this overabundance of oil on the world stage is in part based on the success of the Acadiana region. So while it's a little bit difficult to say maybe you're a victim of some of your own success, you don't necessarily believe that that's the biggest problem with the oil industry in the United States. It's maybe some issues relative to federal policy or lack thereof hurting us as well.
There's no doubt. I mean, certainly the production capability of the oil industry has come great strides, and the creativity of the Acadiana area person is really at the root of much of it. The drilling technology is phenomenal, and the output of the United States has been phenomenal. That has put the market a little bit on its ear in one sense. But the truth is we've had almost no support from the federal government. Policies, we literally had to go through an act of Congress, literally, to be able to export oil.
Right.
That doesn't make any sense in a free market, supposedly a free market economy. We're supporting Brazil and Iran when we should be supporting our own.
Right.
And I really don't understand how the United States government could allow the decimation of the energy industry that could be catastrophic in the future. In fact, I'll go so far as to say that if banks and airlines were too important to fail, why in the world would the nation's energy industry be allowed to be disassembled?
Well, we could discuss a whole lot of conspiracy theories there relative to emerging sources of energy in our country and sort of this whole green movement, all those sort of things. But here's what we know. Oil and gas will be the driver of the U.S. economy and the driver of the U.S. energy policy for the next 40, 50 years, even while we are developing and deploying these new energy, new ways of producing energy. We ought to recognize that, but somehow it seems like we don't.
Well, we've got, our Dean of Engineering is a world leader and has a world-leading staff in alternate energy. We understand alternate energy, and we understand the impact it can have. But the truth is, oil and gas is the energy of the future for the next generation or two or three.
And Louisiana, and particularly the Acadiana region, play a critical role in providing the nation's energy supply. Let's talk about this. It's been difficult, we know that. Thousands of jobs have been lost. You indicate thousands more with the spinoff effect could be lost between now and the end of the year. But you guys are not sitting on your hands. You're developing and deploying a number of initiatives to help both the industry and those individuals who may have lost their jobs as a result of the downturn. We've got about 2 minutes left. Let's talk about that.
Our team in Lafayette, which is pretty large and includes one Acadiana, includes the university, includes our community college, a workforce commission, Fast Start at LED, and others, has teamed up with folks in Lake Charles, Baton Rouge, Camden Parish, and they're really helping us. It's been a great outreach on their effort. It's been a great, heartwarming experience. We've just had over 500 companies come to seminars that were put on in Camden Parish and in Lafayette for businesses who may soon do business with the LNG plants. We just had a job fair. 35 companies were there. One was from Lafayette. The rest were from Lake Charles and Baton Rouge, thanks to the help of all the team I mentioned. And 1,800 displaced oil workers showed up. Many are getting jobs. Everybody is coming to the aid of Acadiana because we've always stuck together as a super region. In addition to that, as I said, our university and community college particularly are stepping up to the plate and creating innovative, fast programs to get people certified because the skill sets of those in the oil industry transfer easily to the petrochemical industry with a certification here or a certification there.
That collaboration and working together is key. These super region committees that have been developed between Baton Rouge and New Orleans and Lafayette and Lake Charles, we're working together in ways that we've never done before, and it really is going to pay dividends for our state's economy overall. Take a break. We come back. I want to talk about the legislative session that's going on now. I want to talk about some things that are going on there that could significantly impact economic development. We're visiting with Gregg Gothreaux. He's the president and CEO of the Lafayette Economic Development Authority, and you're watching the Louisiana Business and Industry Show.
For more than 20 years, the TJC Group has been helping companies assess their training needs and to develop programs that improve the effectiveness and productivity of their teams.
Training doesn't have to be expensive or complicated. Let us put our experience and expertise to work for you.
The TJC Group, facilitating solutions for business and industry.
It might be one of the most efficient, most effective methods of communications we've ever used.
Tim Johnson here for Gulf Coast Occupational Medicine. With some of the most knowledgeable and hardest working medical professionals in Louisiana and 8 convenient locations in Greater Baton Rouge, Gulf Coast provides injury management, physical exams, medical surveillance, and substance abuse testing. Once you know the folks at Gulf Coast, you'll realize they are your best option to protect your safety record and your bottom line. Gulf Coast Occupational Medicine. Ride the wave to safety.
What if I said that whatever good things you build you? And that in this economy, sweat never loses its value? What if I said that there isn't a challenge in the world too great for a craft professional with the right tools? And that the steps that lead from where you are to where you want to be can only be built by you? Build your future at byf.org.
Welcome back to the Louisiana Business and Industry Show. Good conversation with Gregg Gothreaux. He's the president and CEO of the Lafayette Economic Development Authority. We've been talking about diversification, and we know with the downturn in the oil and gas industry that had you not begun to diversify your economy years ago and you had not reached some level of success in that diversification, the situation would be much more severe than it already is. You've taken a 4 pillars approach to diversification. Tell us what that is.
Well, there's no doubt we've diversified. We've gone from 70+% direct dependence on energy to about 45% today. But we want to diversify within the energy industry. Our 4 pillars that hold up our economy, that make our economy work, are energy, healthcare, entertainment, which includes arts, culture, recreation, tourism, and retail.
Growing part of what you do, right?
That's right, and technology. Right. And so those 4 pillars, both from the standpoint of existing industry and growth industry, are really making a huge impact in diversifying our economy.
Well, you talk about this whole idea of entertainment and all of the things that go along with that, the music, the culture. You guys are really taking advantage of that, and it's being recognized globally, isn't it?
Absolutely. I mean, we're known for our food, we're known for our music. We have Grammy winners, walking the streets. We have world artists that we don't necessarily know,
right,
are as huge as they are in other places, French-speaking artists, et cetera. So it's really a phenomenal community. When you think about the culture and the fact that it's lent itself to some groundbreaking art, it's been really great to embrace that. But we also embrace not just the tourists, but the regional tourists and the cultural tourists and people that want to stay when they come, which is nice.
Well, and those 4 pillars, as you mentioned, and the work that you guys are doing, critically important as we go along. Now, we've spent a lot of time on this show over the last month or so talking about the situation that the state finds itself in from a fiscal standpoint, really a budget mess in the current fiscal year and in the fiscal year that we're looking for. I know you follow the legislature closely. You have for all of the years that I've known you. What's your overall idea, your overall perspective on what's going on in the legislature? We know that taxes on businesses are going up in a time when in the Acadiana region, the economy's fragile. Give us your thoughts.
Well, my thoughts are simple. We haven't directly tackled the root causes of our issues. For a long time, I've been an advocate of fiscal reform, of fixing our fiscal policy so that it's competitive. Incentives are necessary when you have a non-competitive tax environment.
Right.
And so the legislature has set this situation up, and it's kind of a way to market yourself, I guess. You create enemies. They've said that business is the enemy of government, that medical care is the enemy of higher education, that supporting jobs is contrary to the workforce's needs, which doesn't make any sense. There is really a situation of trying to position people to be against each other and to fight it out. That's not caused because medical industry feels any kind of animosity toward business or universities or anyone else or government. It's because it's created there as a political toy, a political tool to divide people to get what you want.
And it's been difficult. And you know, one of the other things that you're facing is that there are pieces of legislation that have been filed in this regular session. And as we tape, we don't necessarily know what the outcome is or how those have begun to move. But our friend, Senator Jack Donahue, Representative Schroeder, have filed bills that could severely impact your ability to continue the economic development efforts that you've engaged in, and in fact, all economic developers across this state. Their bill would require any incentive that you provide, any incentive that you offer, that annually those come back to the legislature for legislative approval and appropriation. You can't make deals and engage in economic development if you've got to constantly come back and make sure that your deals are approved by 105 members of the legislature. What impact could that have on your ability to grow your economy?
It would end economic development as we know it. War has been declared on economic development. All incentives and all tax abatements and all tax breaks have been lumped into one category that said, or one area. They've said it's one pillar. And it's one pillar that cost us. We're giving away, was a phrase I read in the paper this morning, this much money. They never collected it, but they're giving it away. The bottom line is their tax system is regressive and they won't fix it. It's not the political will. They just keep coming up with ways that say, I have mine and I really don't want to share with anyone else. Let's eliminate all of these opportunities. Tax incentives that create jobs are good. There are not many of those out there. And those are the ones that need to be protected. They need to be separated. Every litmus test ought to be, how many jobs has this incentive created?
Right.
And if the answer is none or very few, then eliminate it. Otherwise, protect the ones that are transforming and diversifying the state, such as digital media tax credit.
15 seconds. What's on the horizon for the Lafayette Economic Development Authority?
I think we've got great things. Medical training is the future of our community, combined, of course, with energy and entertainment and those other pillars. It's important to understand that we've got great things coming, and that our community has a will to succeed, not just to survive, to succeed.
Gregg Gothreaux, my friend, thanks for joining us, buddy. It's always a pleasure.
Thanks for having me.
We'll have you back soon. That's a wrap, guys. Thanks for joining us today. Join us again next week at this very same time for another edition of the Louisiana Business and Industry Show.